A very good morning to you and welcome to JoyNews Interactive. We're live from digital address GA 099-2539 in Kukumimla on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. On Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, we're JoyNews on TV. This is JoyNews Interactive and I am Mapito CBD. Now, two of the defeated aspirants in the parliamentary primaries of the National Democratic Congress NDC have lamented the influence of money in the Saturday polls. MP for Kumbungu, Razim Mubarak, who lost his seat, told JoyNews there was vote buying in their elections, especially in his constituency. He said people were sharing money in the constituency few days to the election. Also, a former Deputy Communications Minister, Victoria Hammer, who suffered a monumental defeat in the Kintampo North constituency, says she gave her best. I campaigned on truth, she posted on Facebook. However, according to her, she vowed never to use money to rob her people of their dignity. Now, we've been asking you about vote buying on our various social media platforms. We put up a poll. We'll see if we can get some results later on. But let's start with Twitter and see what you have been saying. Okay, let's start with Facebook comments and then we'll go to Twitter on vote buying. Steve Wyram says, I will take the money, but I will definitely vote for the message and not the money. Adam Kobe says, I will collect the goodies and vote my choice. After all, it's our money. You are just fortunate if you are my choice. Bernard Kwame says, but you know about 95% of Ghanaians are corrupt, so you shouldn't have asked this question. Okay. And Citizen Dampari says, never. Money can't buy my consciousness. See, at least there's some people who are not corrupt. 5%. We appreciate you. At Okra Freeman says, this particular question needn't have been asked because vote buying in Ghana politics is so palpable. And Ghazali says, yes, he would get, he would be able to, people would be able to buy his votes. Abraham says, yes, it keeps happening in Ghana in each election. And Evans Lightazine says, I won't even vote. And Nana Prince says, I will not even vote. Let's go to Twitter and see what you have been saying. As I mentioned earlier, we did put up a poll on our Facebook page and we'll be getting those results after I read the Twitter, the tweets at black_monkey says, the funniest thing about people who bribe is they don't know some people are so unruly. They'll take the money and still not do what they want them to do at the end of the day. Ha ha ha, humans are funny. At Fred Mott says, no, never. That is my right. I have a voice. Oh. And at Bern AC says, only poor and uneducated people's votes can be bought with money. And at just_LTK says, never interested in elections though. And at Free Miso says, no, until you quote the amount involved. And this one is from at Mr. Expedited, who says, please, you should add a third choice. Yes, but. And Grace 3068 says, during my school days, I would accept all money and items from candidates, but I never voted for them. If I won't for you, no amount of money. If I want you, no amount of money will make me change my mind. And at I am the caliber says, if your vote is priceless, you live as an unrecognized voter. In fact, useless citizen, if I'm to be specific. Now the question is, What is the value of your vote? In cash or kind or change? Based on what clicks are you voting? The person you voted for tells you how much your vote is worth. This one's from John, who says, even if I don't take it and they win, I will still hustle. So better if I take or no delays, cry. Let's go to our Facebook page where we put up that poll. Can your vote be brought? All right, be brought. Now, 27% said yes, and I mean they're being honest. So 27% out of the 927 votes, and 73% said no, their votes cannot be bought. Stress in everyday terms is a feeling that people have when they're overloaded and struggling to cope with demands. Sometimes stress is very necessary in your life. It can help you work harder and smarter. But what happens when the stress is detrimental to your health? How do you manage the stress? And what are some of the coping mechanisms one can use to survive daily? Joining me on Skype, via Skype is Seth Asafo, who's a psychologist, and he's going to help us deal with this matter. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, we know things like having a heavy workload or too many responsibilities, working long hours can cause stress. But what are the effects on our bodies and our behaviors?
Well, interestingly, stress has a way of affecting us very differently because we obviously have very different coping strategies. But generally, stress is something, it has to do with the way our body gears up to meet the daily demands of life. Essentially, that's what it is. Now, you see, the interesting bit of stress is that stress is actually really good because it puts us or kicks us into high gear to be able to meet the various demands. Like, for example, finishing an assignment or getting through with planning for a marriage and all of that. However, the problem has to do with long periods of stress. There's a mechanism in the body that prepares every human being for stress. And we say that this is quite primitive because it's evolved from the past. Now, it starts off like this. The very first thing you notice for most people when they're very stressed is that they feel their heart starts to beat much quicker than usual, or it's sounding much heavier. Now, this is because the heart is pumping enough blood into the major muscles because, like I'm saying, it's a primitive response. Now, in the past, life was quite routine. So it was about, say, fighting wars or hunting. And so the body needed to go into that, what we call a fight or flight mode, to or you had the resources to face the threat. Now, think about it this way. If I were fighting a lion, of course, I can't fight a lion, but if I were, if I were a lion,
Yeah.
okay, I should finish with the lion in about 10 minutes, or the lion would have finished with me. So the stress response works very quickly, and it's supposed to work for a very short period of time. But with prolonged stress comes the same reaction. So now in modern days, I might probably not have money and I still be thinking. Now, once I start to think, the mind will code it as alarm or danger. So once that danger response comes up, the body will present you or will provide you with the same resources that it would provide it if you were in an actual danger situation.
Now, can we identify stress as a mental illness? Would that be correct?
To some extent. To some extent, yes. Now, if you take, for example, anxiety disorders, like those disorders that have fear as a common denominator, we know that they start off the fight or flight response in the body because we consider all these things, anxiety, as a stressor. Okay?
Yeah.
So will now act on this particular stressor for so long, it becomes a disorder or an ailment. So yes, stress can predispose you to. Now, in the same phase, when you are stressed and the body is putting in all these like stress responses, your immune system, which is the part of the body that protects you from like contracting different ailments, is suppressed or it's not working as much as it should. So you are predisposed to catching common colds and flus, and for women, lots of infections. So yes.
All right. Do you prescribe or would you prescribe taking drugs to help with stress?
No.
Why?
So one thing I know is this: our minds will construct anything we think about and make it real. Okay, and so that's the reason why you watch an emotional movie and you actually feel emotional because your mind will construct for you what you're thinking. In the same way, lots of us watch horror movies and we are afraid anyway because our mind constructs it to be real. So for me, getting away from stress is really not about medication, except, of course, it's take you off into the extremes and it's become a disorder.
Yeah.
Then you have medication. But there are simple things that we can do, like fun.
Okay.
Having fun, I found one of the easiest ways to get people out of stress because in that moment, the fight or flight response is cut off because you're doing something that does not constitute anything that alarm the system. So, for example, when you're exercising, say you're jogging or you're walking and you're looking around, it's quite difficult for your mind to wander around. I don't have money, or my wife is bothering me because your mind is occupied. And I'm saying that stress is primarily in our modern age, stress is primarily cognitive, or it's in the mind.
Yeah.
It's from the physical aspect to the more cognitive aspect. So lots of us don't even realize that we are stressed. But there are a number of signs. For example, if you notice that you become very agitated, the least thing tips you off into anger. You're having problems sleeping, you're having problems eating, your sex drive's been reduced or
Yeah.
increased, or had to start using alcohol or drugs to cope or to relax. These are all typically signs that you are under some form of stress.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned fun, having fun, exercising. What are some of the ways I can manage my stress or I can cope with my stress?
Okay, so we have several dimensions, but for me, I keep saying that perspectives are everything. And since I'm moving on to the dimension that in modern times stress is more mental or cognitive than physical, it, clean your thoughts. That's what I keep telling people. So half the time, the way we think about things to happen, it never plays out that way.
Yeah.
But we'll too much get to the end and realize, oh, I was worried about nothing. But we learn from the fact that it was over nothing. And we work ourselves into the same frenzy and we go on and on and on. Like I had a friend who was extremely worried after he'd taken an exam.
Okay.
And so before the results were released, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, he was unmotivated to do anything. Only for the results to come out and the guy got an A. Can you imagine?
Yeah. So it was just self-inflicted, really.
Because
Yeah.
it's more. Remember, everything you think about becomes very real. The mind constructs like a 3D picture of what you're thinking about, and that's what evokes the stress. Now, stress, like I said, in the short term is adaptive because it keeps you more alert and gives you the needed influx of energy to accomplish tasks. But when it becomes prolonged, and more interestingly, when it's unnoticed, because now lots of people are under stress, but they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And that's the detrimental aspect.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that. That's psychologist Seth Safo giving us some stress management tips. On that note, I'm going to take a quick breather on JoyNews Interactive. You're still watching JoyNews Interactive with me, Mabita CBD. You know how to continue the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are JoyNews on TV. Now, if you're familiar with modern slang, you might have heard of the word slay being used in a figurative way. If you say that someone is slaying, it usually means that they're doing a very good job. Like, oh, you're slaying that outfit, or you keep on slaying those hairstyles. Basically, you're cutting throat and you're winning at life. You know, you're just awesome. When it comes to the term slay queen, one would think it has a very positive connotation. After all, saying slay queen as an exclamation is a form of encouragement, right? No, wrong. Because these days, many people in Africa use the term slay queen to describe a woman that likes to show off her luxurious life, even if she lives in the poorest neighborhood and struggles to stay on her feet. But why does the term slay queen have a negative connotation? Actress Efia Odo has been asking.
Female be so positive here? I mean, so negative here?
I don't know.
Because those two words are positive words. So does it mean that we're just full of negativity in this country? Somebody who slays looks good.
Yes.
Always on point.
Yes.
And a queen, I mean, a queen.
Yes.
So why is something so positive turned out to be so negative?
Beautiful question. In fact, this is the most wonderful, sensible question you've asked this morning.
Oh, wow.
Let's go to the Urban Dictionary and see what the definition of slay queen is. Okay, so this is the top definition, and it says young and naive girls who apparently do not date broke men. They spend hours on Snapchat and Instagram showing off things they don't even own. Nairobi slay queens are the worst. They will milk you dry, then run away. Let's see if we can get a second definition still from the Urban Dictionary about slay queens. Who are the slay queens? Slay queens, young and naive girls who apparently do not date broke men, and they spend hours on Snapchat and Instagram showing off things they don't even own. Now, okay, so that's what people say are slay queens. But we've been asking you on Facebook, why is there a negative connotation to the term slay queens? You've been telling us about that. Let's go to our Facebook page at Mrs. Nikki Nicole says, in America, a slay means for a woman to be the best she can be. Rather, it's being a woman of God, a businesswoman, a best friend, etc. It means she's creating a positive path for herself, being independent and showing your greatness. I like that. I like that definition. At Sam Bowman says, because the people who associate themselves with the word are normally gold diggers. Okay, interesting comment there. And Kwesi Boateng says, because of their behavior in Ghana, they are always in the news for the wrong reason. Now, I found an interesting thread on Twitter about slay queens, and I think it's just very interesting. Let's see if we can get that thread onto our screens. Maybe it might change the way you think about slay queens and what you think slay queens are. So this is from at Judy Sal, who says, number one, slay queen is a patriarchal violence towards women who are living their lives on their own terms. Number two, stay away from men who call some women real queens and others slay queens. In fact, run from such men. And she continues to say, our internalized misogyny jumps out when we get called slay queens and try very hard to prove how we are better. We are never worthy for patriarchy to stop it. Also, when we proudly call other women slay queens because somehow we are better, and learn, sis, you know they're better. And at 4 is language is political. It is important that we resist, even with the language associated with our existence. We have normalized oppression through language. We make it easier and enjoy names meant to degrade our existence. But let's resist it. That's how we end today's edition of JoyNews Interactive here on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're JoyNews on TV. Have yourselves an awesome day.